My name is Talana and welcome back to ChronicallyMeT. Today I'm going to talk about how I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease and, spoiler alert, and how I ended up getting my ostomy surgery. And just a preface, I won't sugarcoat any words here. If you're not comfortable with me talking about poop and blood and those kind of things, then this is not the video for you. So this all started in grade 10 for me. I really wasn't feeling good. My stomach was hurting. I was going to the bathroom a lot more, and for someone in high school in grade 10, it's not something you want to talk to your parents about. I remember finally mentioning it to my mom, and we went to my family doctor, and he thought maybe I should go see a gastroenterologist, also known as like a GI. We went and saw a GI. He put me through the ringer, let me tell you. Want to preface, it took me a few months to get into him. Yeah, I want to say it was about like 6 months or something long to get into him. Once I got in to see him, he just did the basics. Cut out gluten, cut out milk, cut out anything that would really trigger your belly or that you'd be sensitive to. I actually did a lactose intolerance test. I did a celiac test. Everything came back negative. It hurt to take all of this out, especially as a young kid. Like, I was in high school, grade 10, smack dab middle of high school, and I couldn't have gluten. Now getting into grade 11, grade 12, I'm starting to go to the hospital because it's so bad. The pain is so bad. And my gastroenterologist kept thinking, like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's IBS, which is also known as irritable bowel syndrome. Different from Crohn's. Crohn's is irritable bowel disease. I'll do a whole video about IBS and IBD and what the difference is, so stay tuned. It's just easier that way. So my GI thought it was IBS, and just treating it as such, like dietary, different types of medications, mobility meds and digestive meds, and nothing was working. So I got so sick. I remember my mom saying to me, "Who gets the flu twice?" It's weird how there's certain memories that are clear as day and other memories are a blur, or I essentially have heard it from my parents as to what had happened. So she said, well, if you think you need to go to the hospital, go, but like, just maybe don't go to school. And I was still in high school, and I felt bad not going to school. I loved school. Yes, I was a nerd that loved school, but more importantly, it was band class. I didn't want to miss band class. Shout out to my band teacher. You know who you are. I won't mention your name in here because I didn't ask for your consent, but you're the best, honestly. Band is what kept me going. Music is what kept me going. And it just really broke my heart not being able to go to band class. So I ended up going to the hospital a couple times before the big one. And each time I would go to the local hospital in my city that I live in, they would say, it's just the flu, you can go home. You have to talk to your gastroenterologist, tell your GI this, and he'll help you. So I wouldn't even stay there for a couple hours. Like, it would just be a few hours or more, 8 hours, but I'd still be in a merge in a chair, crying, in pain, total debilitation. There's one night where we went back to this hospital again. So they said, we'll refer you to our specialist here at this hospital, who wasn't my specialist. He's at a different hospital. And that specialist came and talked to me, and he said, are you bleeding? As in bleeding rectally. And I said, yeah, I've been bleeding this whole time. And he's like, I don't know why your GI isn't doing anything about it, because bleeding, you should have a colonoscopy to see if you have Crohn's disease, because if you're bleeding, you most likely have Crohn's. If it's not IBS. We went back to my specialist and told him that, because me being a young person, I omitted the most important information, that I was bleeding. I was embarrassed to tell him that I was bleeding, and that was the most important information. So he booked me in for a scope, and I had to wait 6 months. I'm in grade 12. And grade 12 for me was in 2012. So 2 years after I started having some problems. One time, I was so sick again, and we didn't want to go back to the hospital that's in my town. I was 17 in grade 12 when we were going, and my mom said, let's just take you to the children's hospital. So we have a hospital about an hour and a half with traffic away, and it's the designated children's hospital. So we went there thinking that, okay, I'm a child, still in high school. I'm not even legal age to vote, so I was 17. So we went there thinking that they would help us. Walked in and they said, how old are you? And I said 17. And they said, sorry, we can't help you because you're too old. And so we asked like how old you had to be, and they said 16. They couldn't help us. So we drove all the way back to my hometown, and we stopped at the hospital here because I was just so sick, throwing up constantly, so much pain, going to the bathroom, bleeding, like just lots of pain. And I didn't have my scope yet. The hospital looked at us and said, why are you here? It's like 11, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, I think, actually. And we said, well, we just drove all the way down to the children's hospital, and they said we're too old, so we drove all the way back here. And they said, oh, okay. So I think they thought they were being humorous. They put me in the child's ward at this hospital, which I'd never been in before. But they saw me and kept me for the night, gave me some fluids, and just sent me back home. I wasn't even admitted. It was just give me fluids, a little bit of pain meds, probably, I don't remember. It just didn't end. So my mom said, well, let's go to your family doctor and see what he thinks. So I think she took time off work for it. We went in, and I just laid on his bed and said, Mom, I just need to lay down. And I laid there, and he walked in and went, oh God. And my mom looked at him and just said, please help. And he said, you know what? Go to this hospital, which was the hospital that my GI is at, different from any of the ones that we've been to. And he said, I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm gonna write a letter. I'm gonna give it to you and give it to them. I think we read the letter after the fact, and it just basically said my name and what's been going on and who my doctor was and that kind of thing. It wasn't I'm gonna kill you if you don't take her seriously. But this hospital, which was different from the previous ones, is that I was within age. Everybody can go to this hospital. But also it was a teaching hospital. So I think that played a role into how they were able to help me. So I dragged my butt into the emergency department, go in, and one of the doctors comes up to us and says, the only way to do this would be to admit you. She said, we can try and squeeze you in anytime as soon as you're admitted. So I got admitted, got put onto the most disgusting ward of my life. But 3 days later, after being admitted, I got diagnosed. We did my scope. She said, this is clear as day Crohn's, but unfortunately, you have severe Crohn's disease. We need to treat this immediately. So they started to treat me. We didn't even talk about if it wasn't gonna work. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't care. I wanted my colon out. I wanted to die. I wanted a transplant, like intestinal transplant, full body transplant, put me in another body. It'd be great. 12 hours later, I perked up. Don't know what I was doing, but I perked up and I felt better. And my GI walked into the room and went, oh, she looks good. And you could just tell my mom, like, there's a sigh of relief in the room. Good news. So he saved my life that night. So yeah, so I was in that hospital for 29 days total. I went through my commencement ceremony in the hospital. I got a pass and went to my grade 12 commencement. I wrote my grade 12 English exam with one of my teachers beside me to supervise. So, and I just got by. But I needed that English exam to get into nursing school, which is what I wanted to go to after high school. What I've accepted with Crohn's disease, being it an autoimmune disease, is that it affects my body as a whole, and anything and everything can happen from my mouth to my butthole, from my head to my toes, everything and anything. So I'm gonna leave it there. That's my story about my Crohn's. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. And if you want to share your story or want to talk to me, send me a message and I will put my Instagram. It's ChronicallyMeT. You can send me a message on there if you want to keep it private, or just leave a comment. I really appreciate you guys watching my videos and subscribing to my channel. You can turn those post notifications on so you get notified every single time that I post a video. And for future videos, stay tuned. Next week I'm going to share my ostomy video with you and how I got my ostomy. I enjoyed sharing the story with you. Yeah, so I'll see you guys next time. Bye.